All right, real story time with your boy Art Will. So we're in the 80's now. It's like 1981. It's four of us now. It's me, my older sister, my younger sister, my younger brother, and my mama's still single for the moment. And she still like whooping people like it was still the 70's. She would set me up for whoopings, ask me questions that, trick questions I didn't know the answer to. Like one day we were in the kitchen, she's like stirring some shit up, I'm sweeping, my sister Judy's washing the dishes and shit. And she says, "Why can't I keep a man?" I said, it's 1980. I'm 10 years old. I don't know why. Maybe that's a question you need to look inside of yourself to try to find the answer to. She just looked at me and said, "Go get the belt." I said, "No, I'm not going to get the belt this time." And so she started coming towards me aggressively. So I threw the broom down. There was a screwdriver on the kitchen table. I picked it up. I was throwing it from hand to hand. It's like some shit I seen in the movie. I was like, "Come on, let's tango." She looked at me and shook her head, picked up the phone, called my father, said, "You need to come get this little motherfucker before I kill his ass." So, my pop showed up like 2 hours later. By this time, the whole hood knew I was leaving. I was leaving the hood. I was feeling like JJ at an episode of Good Times when they finally make it out the ghetto and shit, right? And so everybody's out there to see me off. It's Lassie, Lil Hand Larry, Chris, Wee Wee, Bimbo, Chauncey, Tina and Gina, Monty, and shit. All the people. The last thing I remember was driving away and Chris saying, "Stay cool, Bird." And I was sad. I never thought I would see my friend again. And I told my father, he says, "Don't worry, you'll see him again." And he made sure I did. So we get to my father's house and he's remarried. He has a daughter with his wife, but she had two other kids before he came along. And for some reason, she hated me. And she hated me, well, I know why now, because of the way my father still felt about my mother. And I was a product of that. So she hated me. And I stayed there for like 3 weeks. She had a son, Reggie. And Reggie was like, not laughing at Reggie, but he was mentally disabled. But we didn't say that back then. You were retarded. That's just what people said. That's what mental retardation. That's real shit. And so one day she told me, she says, "Reggie got more sense than you." And so I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to defend myself because I didn't want to make it seem like I was talking about Reggie. But Reggie couldn't go outside without supervision and a helmet. And so I'm looking at Reggie. I got a mirror in my hand. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm looking at Reggie. And I'm looking in the mirror at Reggie. And I'm like, him? More sense than me? I must be fucked up. And so anyway, my dad's like, "Well, you're going to go over and stay with grandma," his mother. I was so happy. I love my grandmother so much. I've never met anyone in my life with so much love and sensitivity. And it was her. She even named me Bird. She said because I looked like a baby bird in a nest when I was in my playpen or my crib when I was hungry. I just had my mouth open. She called me Birdie Pie until the day she died. And she was like one of the only ones that I would allow that with. And so we get over there. I'm happy. I'm happy. You know, my Uncle Joe lives there. Uncle Joe's a whole nother story. And Leon, Uncle Leon, we just gonna call him Uncle Leon, leave it at that, lived over there. And looking back as I'm thinking about this story, this guy was just like, he was a massive hater. He hated me being over there. Like he was greedy, he was lazy, and he was a hater. A greedy, lazy hater. You know, example. So sometimes my other cousins would be over there, Uncle Joe's kids, Safi and Joy. And so my grandmother would get like 10 burgers and shit. And so he'll be in charge of the burgers. Leon will be in charge of the burgers. He'll give us each one. He got like 7 burgers over there. He got the top bun off. It's pickles and ketchup and mustard and shit everywhere and shit. And if you had the nerve to ask for another burger, he went off. Leon, can I have another burger? Man, damn, I can't have shit. You always want everything. You always begging with your greedy ass all the time. You got 7 burgers. We got 1 apiece. You can give us each 2 and still have 4. And then he said, but if I do that, I won't have 7. Right, that type of motherfucker. The first couch potato I ever met in my life. You know, he would take them burgers in there and sit in a chair, and it's like a little TV dinner tray. He'll have all his burgers right there, like ready to get down with the get down and shit. And so my grandparents, they had this. It was a newer TV that you didn't have to turn the knob. It was like a push button TV. And so he had straightened out a hanger, and he would sit there with a burger in one hand and a hanger in the other, just in the TV, change the channels, watching like General Hospital or Days of the World or As the World Turns, some shit like that, eating all the burgers. And so one cool thing about Leon, we used to go to the mall every weekend, you know, and hang out. Go to the game room, walk around, see shit we're trying to buy, we want to buy, and shit. I was getting allowance. I was happy. And so we're in the game room, and that's when my addiction started. I got addicted to, like, video games, not just all video games, to one video game. I was at school one day, and they was like, man, you know it's a new Pac-Man out. I was like, what? They said, yeah, it's brand new. It's a girl. And the fruit be bouncing. I said, the fruit be bouncing? What are you talking about? This is crazy talk. And then the convenience store where I lived, they got the Miss Pac-Man. And so I was in there. I was spending all my allowance. I was getting $10 in like 81, 82 a week. That was a lot of money. And I would get just all quarters and go to the game room. And I needed to hear however the music went. And so one week after one day, all my quarters are gone. And I was like, damn, I need more quarters. Leon had a gang of comic books. He was like a jerky nerd. But he'll ask me questions like, who do you think will win in a fight between Superman and the Incredible Hulk? I'm like, I don't know. Well, you're stupid, because they'll never fight. One's on Marvel and one's on DC. Like, I don't even know what the fuck that means, man. I don't fucking know these people. And so anyway, he had all these comic books, maybe thousands, I don't know. Hundreds at least. And so I was like, well, he's not going to miss a few of these. And I was right. I took him to the comic book store, and I got some quarters. So I'm in there playing Miss Pac-Man away, Joust, Cubert. And so it got good to me. I started sliding out with mass comic books, you know, a grocery bag full of comic books and shit. And he had the Teen Titans, the first issue of the Teen Titans, the 80's Teen Titans and shit. And I had that in there. They gave me $16 for that bag. We were walking past a day or two later, and they were selling the Teen Titans. It was hanging in the window for $16 by itself. And he was like, ooh, I got that book. Little did he know, he didn't have that book. So he went home, he looks for the shit, and then he finally puts two and two together. And so all my allowance got funneled to him to pay for the comic books. I think that was the last time I seen allowance. You know, my allowance had to go to him for like damn near a year type shit. I'm not even joking. But I still was addicted. So I would be down at the grocery store carrying bags, trying to earn quarters for Miss Pac-Man because she needed it. I had to give her what she wanted. It was nothing like getting my initials at the top. Number 1. First my initials, AGW, then ART. It was great being number 1. But so I'm looking around the house for some quarters, and I open his drawer. It's my grandfather's drawer. And then I'm looking at his change, and he has this 1942 quarter. And I'm pretty sure he's been saving this since 1942. Because he told me, he was like, yeah, I used to have to wash cars for 12.5 cents. And I was like, 12.5 cents? That doesn't even make any sense. And then he says, well, if you wash 2 cars, then you get a quarter. I said, but what if you wash 3 cars? He said, see, that's what the problem is. I didn't know they had a thing called a half penny back then. Now I know. I didn't. He said, you think you know everything. So anyway, I took the quarter and I go to the arcade. Well, I go to the convenience store. And as soon as it drops in there and it swallows, I'm like, I know this is an ass beating coming. And I was right. My father got called over there, and he came up and he spoke to me about why I was doing what I was doing. I couldn't explain. I couldn't tell him. I didn't know that I was addicted to the shit. And so we talked. He left, or so I thought. I'm still in the room. I'm sleeping. I just wake up to an ass whooping. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't even do nothing. I forgot all about the shit, right? And that was the last time in life that I've ever made that man mad. I said, I don't need him doing that to me no more. Real. A side note about haters. I'm not gonna get into too much of that. I still play video games. I still fuck with Miss Pac-Man from time to time. Bring back those memories. But I keep my hands off of quarters these days, especially my grandfather's.